I would now like to call upon Mr. Aamir Allawala to give a presentation on the report that has been launched today. A data-backed document that misspells the common misconceptions about our industry.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbish rahli sadri wa yassirli amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Minister Sahab, it is an honor for us to welcome you to the launch of the report, which is titled The Road to Glory or Edge of a Cliff. Rana Sahab, thank you very much for your presence also, and all the dignitaries. I am very, very grateful that you took time out to join us at this occasion. So I would like to try to be as brief as possible so that we can use everybody's time in the best way. So first of all, let us look at what really is Pakistan's population pyramid. So we have the pink side and the blue side, and the interesting part is the number. We are the 5th largest population on the planet with 240 million people, and 70% of this population is below the age of 35 years, but the most concerning part is that 40% of the population is hovering around the poverty line. That should be the biggest concern for all policymakers and all opinion leaders which craft the future direction of the country. So now let us talk about the automobile brands produced in Pakistan. So sometimes we tend to underestimate ourselves. Our country is, in fact, one of top 10 when we look at several sectors like motorcycle production, like solar panels, like smartphones and mobile phones, and many other sectors. We are top 10 because naturally, by virtue of our population, we deserve that position. And if we look at our automobile sector, we would find that today all of these brands, starting from Suzuki, Toyota, and Honda, and then after the 2016-21 policy, Kia, Hyundai, MG, Peugeot, Isuzu, Haval, Proton, Prince, Chang'an, Master, Chery, United, Topson, these companies, and now will be followed by Honda and BYD. So we are actually able to attract the assembling industry to Pakistan. So today, Pakistan is one of the 40 countries that operate a fully functional automobile industry, and we are the 34th largest producer of automobiles in the world, and it accounts for almost 2.8% of the country's GDP. And if we look at this map, 7 out of the top 10 car brands are now making vehicles in Pakistan. Now, we should be proud of this ability to attract these global companies. I mean, Toyota, for example, is bigger than, in terms of their revenues, bigger than the country of Pakistan. It is like an empire. And when it moves similarly to companies like Suzuki and Honda and BYD, they change the destiny. They have the potential to change the destiny of a country's industrialization or an industrial ecosystem. It is up to the country. I'd like to give an example of Thailand. They were able to invite the Japanese to come and invest in Thailand, and the Japanese, who were looking for a second production base outside of Japan, came to Thailand and invested billions of dollars, developed their infrastructure, not only physical infrastructure, but also the industrial infrastructure. And as my dear friend Nagao-san tells me, today, if you look at Thailand, 7 out of 10 top companies in Thailand belong to Thai groups. So after Japan invested in Thailand, they did not take Thailand back to Japan. It now belongs to the Thai people. So I think we need to be smart. We can't let ourselves become hostage to a kind of thinking where, the foreigners will come and take our wealth away. If we are smart, we can hold our wealth in our country. So these are the parts. Minister Saab, you saw today all of these parts. In fact, not all, some of these parts that are being locally produced. And I want to very proudly tell you that auto parts exports exceed $200 million. But the problem is sometimes they are not reported because they are under multiple HS codes. For example, tires are being exported in big numbers by Long March Service Industries. This is founded in Nooriabad, and they are now one of the top 10 tire exporters. They have made Pakistan one of the top 10 tire exporting countries of the world. It is a Chinese company with the service group, but that tire is not reflected in the automobile parts HS code. Similarly, there are other parts made of like forgings and castings, but if you total them all up, we are at $200 million. It's not so much, but it gives us a platform to grow to $1 billion or $2 billion, or who knows if we are able to get into the global value chains and are able to resolve the small issues that drag us back. Okay, so you all seen all of these parts, so I won't spend too much time on it. But I would like to mention one thing. When you look at a component, you look at it as a seat is a part. But actually, a seat set in a vehicle comprises of 520 parts. So, Minister, when you will come to Karachi to visit the cluster of 70 companies in the Bin Qasim area, we'll take you to Thal Boshoko. It's a company which has an investment from Toyota Boshoko, making seats for Toyota vehicles. And you would be extremely impressed with the kind of engineering that goes into making a seat. अभी चल नहीं रहा है इसको नेक्स्ट स्लाइड कीजिएगा प्लीज Okay, now let us talk about a certain small kind of benchmarking analysis. Pakistan has a total CKD duty of around 30% on cars and 50 to 100%, 50 to 100% in case of CBU. And if you compare that with India, India has a CBU rate of duty of about 125%. Vietnam has a CBU rate of duty of 52%, and Thailand has a CBU rate of duty of 80%. So sometimes we are looking at trying to bring our tariffs down, but we can see there are many other countries which are keeping tariffs at much higher level, and they don't have any influx of used cars. So at the bottom in red, you can see 24% of Pakistan's car market is controlled by used cars, which is not a phenomenon that we see in other countries of the world. Next. So I think there is one thing which is very clear. The status quo, which is the existing state of affairs, it is not feasible for us anymore. It is not feasible from what we hear from many in the government. It's not feasible for the industry either. So what is the current state of affairs? What is the status quo? It is lack of safety and security. It is lack of political stability. It is lack of policy consistency. I give you an example. Under the Policy Auto Industry Development and Export Plan 2021 to 2026, it was decided that sales tax on small cars will be 12.5%. It was supposed to continue until 2026. But to our surprise, while the RD on the big SUVs was dropped drastically, the sales tax on the small car was increased to 18%. Now that is what really disturbs the industry, policy inconsistency. Then there is a fixation on import of used cars. I can't understand why an agreement signed with the IMF would have a provision that cars up to 5-year-old age be allowed to import in Pakistan until the next year, and then the age limit be removed. And the duty difference should be 40% to be reduced by 10% every year and to be equal to the import duty of new cars by 2030. I mean, why are we doing such things? It's just very difficult to understand. Then there is a lack of regional benchmarking. And there is a lack of deep industry analysis and a long-term vision. देखें, it's very clear that this state of affairs cannot continue. Because frankly speaking, from the industry side, I want to tell you as an auto part manufacturer, we are quite fed up. Because this coming and going to Islamabad and running around and arranging these events, this is not our job. Our job is to produce for the domestic market, for the export market, for our customers, serve the industry. That's our job. But this is what we are doing today. This is not my job. So it's a waste of time. So let's try to change this status quo where the government once understands what needs to be done and then does it. So we need reforms. Everybody says that. Everybody says we need reforms. Everybody I speak to, we need reforms. Business as usual cannot continue. We need reforms. So for whom do we need reforms? And what do we want to fix by these reforms? Now, we come up with these ideas that other countries reduce their tariffs and therefore they became suddenly big exporters and hunky-dory, everything is great, going great. But have we done any deep analysis? I mean, if India has a weighted average tariff, which is more than our country, why do we want to reduce that? Our tariff, which is now, we have an 11% tariff average. India has 17%. Now we have a target to reduce it to 6%. I mean, what are we doing? In the presence of all of these difficulties, we want to tie our industry's hands behind our back, and then we want to expose them to Anoki, like we're discussing the example of Akram Pelwan versus Anoki. The result will be the same, sir. So we need reforms, but for whom and how and to fix what? Okay, so for a government, you have to reform the economy for the benefit of the weakest link. The weakest link is the Pakistani which works in our factories, 1.8 million Pakistanis that work in our factories, directly or indirectly, working at 40,000 rupees a year. It is not the government's responsibility to reform something for the benefit of someone who has at least 3.5 million to spend on a Daihatsu Mira or a Suzuki Alto or a Toyota Passo or something like that. So we need to look at the bottom rung of the population, and I must say that when we talk about reform, so how great they were. Nationalization in the 1970s was a reform, and it was done with a very good intention, and it was done with a lot of intellectual analysis. And 90% of the country was clapping. Wow, मजदूर मालिक बन जाएगा तो इंडस्ट्री कहाँ से कहाँ पहुँच जाएगी, स्क्रैप में बिकी फिर वो. So हमारा एंड गेम क्या है? This I fail to understand that do we have an end game कि वो तो ठीक है कि एक्सपोर्ट्स बढ़ जाएंगी और फॉरेन एक्सचेंज बहुत अच्छा हो जाएगा. हम यूज्ड कार की कमर्शियल इंपोर्ट खोलेंगे, मुझे 50 गाड़ी चाहिए होगी, मैं लोकल गाड़ी नहीं खरीदूंगा, मैं मंगाऊंगा डायट्सू मीरा 50 गाड़ी की एलसी खोल के. मुल्क के पास फॉरेन एक्सचेंज है नहीं चल रहा. सो हमें ये देखना है कि हम कहाँ खड़े हैं हमारे मुल्क में. और फिर एक और सवाल होता है जिसका मैं जवाब देना चाहता हूँ, और वो सवाल ये है कि अगर आप लोकल नहीं बेच सकते तो आप एक्सपोर्ट कर दें. तो इसकी मिसाल ऐसी है कि ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे कि हमारे यहाँ कोई सुरखाब का पर लगा हुआ है कि पूरी दुनिया इंतज़ार कर रही है कि जी ये सुरखाब के पर वाले अपनी चीज़ ऑफ़र करेंगे तो हम इसको ख़रीदेंगे. सर, अगर मुझे रुवांडा से, बुरुंडी से या युगांडा से कोई कंपनी इन्फॉर्म करेगी कि जी हम बेहतरीन क्वालिटी का ऑटो ग्लास बनाते हैं, प्लीज़ यूज़ आवर ऑटो ग्लास. First of all, I would like to send 2 of my people to go and audit that factory and see कि factory कैसी है, and then I would also like to check about the environment in the country, whether they would be able to serve my supply chain in a timely manner and a quality that I can accept. Now, I don't want to go to Rwanda, हालांकि it is the fastest growing economy in Africa at this time and a very good economic environment there. But I don't want to go there because the brand Rwanda is bad. I would rather go to Cambodia, to Vietnam, to Laos. I would not go to Rwanda. I would not go to Burundi, and I will not go to Uganda. So the brand Pakistan has a problem. We have to understand that none of our industries is performing to its potential. Our exports of manufactured goods are less than $20 billion. Vietnam is at 370 billion. I mean, what has happened? What is wrong? सब underperform कर रहे हैं. The textile is underperforming, leather is underperforming, blah, blah, furniture, everybody is underperforming. So please don't point the finger at autos and auto parts. This whole country is underperforming. The government has been underperforming over the last several decades. The bureaucracy has been underperforming for the last several decades. The politicians have been underperforming. So let us not put the blame where it does not belong. And next. Okay, so I'll just try to, Minister Saab, when you are out of time, please feel free to, move on because, you have a ECC meeting. So I just want to summarize this report. The purpose of this report is to set the record straight. We don't want to be in a position that 10 years from now, when the Pakistan auto parts industry, God forbid, shuts down, we don't want to be in a situation where we say to ourselves, why did we not stand up? So now we have documented this state of the industry. As I mentioned, the automotive industry is, it creates and lifts the entire country. Pointer hai yaar? Chal raha hai, nahi chal raha? Zor se press. Achha ji. So there are 5,000 components that are being localized. There are 1.83 million people who are linked with the auto parts manufacturing sector. There's 1.25 billion US dollars worth of import substitution, and Pakistan is one of the 46 auto producing countries in the world, and we should be proud of it. Next slide. So how did India become a major exporter? India is a shining example. Let's learn from our enemy. They have taken a sector, auto. They have been able to attract 17 assemblers in their country, and they have been able to attract every global part manufacturer to come and invest in India. As a result, when a parts needs to be localized, the assembler issues a tender document to 6 part manufacturers, and they compete like crazy people. And that is why, if you look at India, it's very easy to create a very good top line, but nobody is making money in India. You look at investors, nobody makes money in India, except for a few companies which have some kind of a distinct advantage of volumes. So what India did was, they pursued policy stability over decades. They protected their home market viciously until they achieved the scale, which is 500,000 units to 1 million units every year. They attracted foreign OEMs and they gave them reasons to stay. Now, Suzuki is the biggest investor in the Indian automobile industry. And Mr. Modi, when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, used to welcome Mr. O. Suzuki, the late Mr. O. Suzuki, to come and would give them such a VIP treatment and would ask them to come please invest in Gujarat for their new plant, which he did. And today, Suzuki India, Maruti Suzuki India is exporting mini cars back to Japan. So there is a process which has to be followed, and the Indians pushed the localization beyond assembly and gave export incentives from day one. Even today, from the smartphone experience, we came to the government last year, sir, and we said we need 12 billion rupees as export incentive just for 2 years, and we'll give you exports of $1 billion in 3 years. We'll move the supply chains. The government said, no, we can't give you any money. It's okay, no problem. We didn't do export, fine. But what India did was they came up with the PLI program, the production-linked incentives, under which they are not only incentivizing export, but also domestic production. So India wants to become the factory of the world, and I tell you, sir, with 240 million people, we can also become a major player. Because we have the people, and we have the passion. We can do it. So what they did was they opened export markets through FTAs. So India didn't get here by chance. It got here by choosing stability over short-term politics. And that's the choice we face today. So, next please. Chale, aage. Okay. So when we look at our country, as I said, every statistic, every metric, our performance is not so good. But it's no problem, we are surviving, and I think we can recover very fast. That's the special trait of a Pakistani. We can recover very fast. Chalo, next. So sometimes, and you'll find more details in the report, It is said cars made in Pakistan are very expensive. Wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Yes, some cars made in Pakistan are more expensive, but some cars made in Pakistan are less expensive. I give you an example. The Toyota Corolla made in Pakistan is cheaper than the Toyota Corolla, same spec, made in Indonesia and made in Thailand, and even same price as made in India. The Toyota Yaris, same. Honda City, same. Honda Civic, same. Toyota Corolla Cross, same. Honda HEV, same. When you go to small cars, you will find that the cars made in Pakistan are about 10% more expensive than the small cars made in Indonesia and Thailand. But that is reasonable to assume, or a reasonable result, because Indonesia makes 1.3 million cars, Thailand makes more than 1 million, and Pakistan makes 150,000. So that is the reason. But if you look at the small car, you will find when you compare with India, but no one should compare us with India, because India is an absolutely crazy market, as I said. So they definitely are 30%, 40% cheaper than us in small cars, but they are also cheaper than Indonesia or Thailand. So Indonesia and Thailand didn't give up on their industry because they are more expensive than India. So what we have to do is benchmark ourselves not with India, because India has a market of 6 million vehicles a year, and every part manufacturer and the raw material industry present there. So we have to benchmark ourselves properly. So I believe that the auto parts industry has played its part in remaining competitive against all economic, political, and safety odds. So I believe that we can. Okay. So I think we can conclude. So Minister Saab, thank you very much. These are just some thoughts, and I hope we will continue discussing and working on the right policy environment for this industry. Thank you very much, sir. So if we were to look at Pakistan, I would say Pakistan has had, we've gone through a series of missed opportunities. Chale ji, next. So there is a regional corridor of almost $131 billion. So this whole region is linked with Pakistan. I think what really we need to do is to focus on developing our GDP, increase the purchasing power of our population. Once we go beyond the $2,500 mark, it has been seen in many countries that the automobile demand starts to rise if consumer financing is available. Chale, next. So motorization levels are something that we need to work on. Motorization would mean development of an entire industrial ecosystem, and if we look at the GDP per capita, Pakistan is at around 1,824, and India is at 2,878, and Thailand is more than 700, Vietnam is about 7,700, and Vietnam is about 5,000. So the motorization ratio in Pakistan is 20, India is 33, Thailand is 147, and Vietnam is 46. Now just imagine if we were to increase our motorization ratio to even half of this, we would suddenly find that the demand for automobiles, once it starts rising, there are now 13 assemblers and 1,200 parts manufacturers which can serve this demand. Creation of demand is not the responsibility of the industry. It is the responsibility of the government. It is the responsibility of the bureaucracy and the politicians. And I think we are moving in the right direction. So we hope that if we can stay the course, inshallah, we will see demand in Pakistan, just like for mobile phones, for motorcycles, for solar panels, for energy storage, and you name it. Our population will drive up our motorization level. Next. So, chalo, aage chalte hain. So this is all simple. So I think I want to just touch upon some important misunderstandings that there exist about the auto industry. And I want to say that I am not here to defend the automobile assemblers. We want to focus on the auto parts manufacturing. But there are some things which impact the entire industry in a negative way. So they need to be clear up. Now, there is an impression that the automobile industry creates a lot of burden on the import bill. So we made an analysis of the last 5 years, and you can see here that a total import of 285 billion US dollars was done by Pakistan in the last 5 years, and the auto sector contributed, or in fact availed, only 5.3 billion in the import of CKDs. So it is less than 2% that auto contributes towards utilization of the foreign exchange. Next. Now then, of course, car assemblers merely join imported parts. So you've seen yourself, there are a large number of parts that are being produced locally. So in several cars, it's up to 65% by value, not by quantity, by value, that the local manufacturers are supplying components of 300 billion rupees every year to the auto assemblers, which means it's about ₹1 billion a day. So that is the kind of economic activity that is happening. Then, of course, there is local parts are low in quality and old technology. That, again, is absolutely wrong. Toyota, Suzuki, Honda, and any other global assembler would never risk producing a low-quality car in Pakistan. With the social media, a news in any country will travel so fast to other countries that no brand will ever take a risk, and all parts produced in Pakistan are approved and tested by the laboratories in Japan and by the assemblers in their home country. Next. Then you're talking about the local industry offering obsolete models with little choice. I think that one could say 2016 that could be the case, but now nobody can say that. Now we have 13 assemblers. We have more than 40 models of cars that are available, so everybody has a choice. And then you say Pakistan is dependent on foreign technology. So foreign technology, there is a case of our former chairman, Feroz Khan, who launched a locally designed car in 2006, which was called Revo, and he put in a lot of money and lost all of it because there was no support from the government ecosystem. So if we want to develop and have local technology, there needs to be a lot of support from the government to make that happen. Next. Then let me say local cars are exorbitantly costly and out of reach of the consumers. But as I mentioned, there are some cars which are cheaper in Pakistan as compared to Indonesia and Thailand, and there are some cars which are more expensive. So when the volumes will go up, the localization level will improve, the amortization of investment will be on a bigger number of units, the prices will definitely come down. Next. So, okay, move on. Chale, aage chalte hain. All right. So, one more thing is very interesting, and I want to touch upon it. The industry is unfairly and unnecessarily protected. Now, we have been hearing this for the last 10 years. The industry is very highly, unreasonably protected. It is wrong. And why I say that is because auto sector is not like the diaper industry or the tile industry or the pamper industry or the sanitary industry. So, it is actually a very complex ecosystem which contains 3 industrial sectors. The first industrial sector is the raw material industry. I give example of Aisha Steel, International Steel, they produce the raw materials as the steel sheets. Then People Steel Mills, they produce the steel bars. Then there are aluminum producers. So raw material industry is one industry which needs a reasonable safeguard. Then there is another industry which is the auto parts manufacturers which use the raw material to produce components. This is another industry. And then third is the automobile assemblers. So when the policy says we need to reduce the peak tariffs to 15%, I say you need to apply 15% protection for at least for each of these 3 industries. So I don't believe the auto industry is unnecessarily or excessively protected. And if we were to benchmark ourselves with other countries, as I just indicated, other countries are imposing much higher duties on CBUs. So, next. All right, so Pakistan benefits more from importing vehicles than manufacturing. I think this is, very sorry to say, but it doesn't make any sense. And used car imports have no adverse impact on domestic volumes. This is also absolutely wrong. The pie of demand is the same. If 24% of the demand is captured by used cars, then this means the local industry has lost that production capability. And last year, the Pakistan auto parts manufacturers lost 60 billion rupees in lost auto parts sales. So that is 40,000 jobs gone out of the system. So it does have an impact. Okay, let's move on. Next. So the challenges. Chale, aage. So I think अगर हम 3 policies आई हैं अभी तक, AIDP आई 2007 से 2012, ADP Auto Development Plan 2016 to 21, and then AIDP 21 to 26. It is quite unbelievable that the first policy was tempered 26 times. Every budget there used to be some tinkering, कोई टैक्स ऊपर, कोई टैक्स नीचे, कोई ACD ऊपर, कोई RD ऊपर, कोई RD नीचे, कोई पार्ट पे RD, कोई CPU पे RD, किसी किस्म का कोई टैक्स, किसी किस्म का कोई और टैक्स. 5 साल की पॉलिसी में 26 चेंजेस थी. सेम हैपेंड विद ADP, एंड नाउ मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया दैट small car was guaranteed to have a sales tax of 12.5% until 2026, but it was withdrawn. Nobody can even talk about it. But it is, कोई बात नहीं करता, but सोचते तो सब है, and then it impacts on the future investment decisions. Sorry, next. And then used car imports में we are a remarkable country. This is Pakistan. 23 to 24% of car sales in Pakistan are used cars. These cars are, many of them are very low grade, less than 3.5 or 4 grade on the auction house ratings. Many of them are accidented or damaged cars. Some of the Fukushima plant damaged cars also came to Pakistan. Many damaged cars are then repaired here and then sold. Customers start suffering later. There is a reason why these countries don't let used cars come in. मतलब are we, कोई हम बहुत खास सोच है हमारी कि ये बाकी सारे लोग बेवकूफ़ हैं जी, और हम बहुत समझदार हैं कि हमने ये कार मेकर्स पे एक चेक रखा हुआ है, सेफ्टी वैल्व है कि अगर गाड़ी तुमने सस्ती नहीं बनाई, अच्छी नहीं बनाई, बहुत सारी नहीं बनाई, ये नहीं किया, वो नहीं किया, तो देखो ये यूज्ड कार है बच्चे को डराने के लिए. आई थिंक इट्स नॉट वर्किंग कि बिकॉज कोई डर नहीं रहा है, कोई डर नहीं रहा है. नुकसान किसका हो रहा है? 60 बिलियन के पार्ट्स का लॉस हुआ. हर गाड़ी में पाकिस्तान में तकरीबन कोई 15 लाख का एवरेज यूज्ड का अपना लोकल पार्ट्स यूज होते हैं. सो वी लॉस्ट सेल्स रेवेन्यू ऑफ 60 बिलियन एंड वी लॉस्ट 40,000 डायरेक्ट जॉब्स. सो हम अपने साथ खुद ही ज्यादती कर रहे हैं. आगे. सो ये देखें सर, ये हमारे बूम बस साइकिल्स हैं. अब आप कहते हैं पाकिस्तान में ऑटो इंडस्ट्री बड़ी अच्छी चल रही है. भाई ये देखिए, ये हमारा लेवल है 2025 का, 1,50,000 गाड़ी. हमने 2007 में नहीं 2005 में 1,52,000 गाड़ी बनाई थी. तो ये किस किस्म की प्रॉस्पेरिटी है? 2005 में, आज डॉक्टर मंजूर फरमा रहे थे बिल्कुल सही, कि इंडोनेशिया was making almost 200,000 cars in 2005 more or less, and today they are making more than 1.3 million. आप कहाँ हैं? ये रोलर कोस्टर राइड चल रही है भाई, और ये आखिर में हम यहाँ आके वहीं फंसे हुए हैं. तो यार मुझे तो फ्यूचर में इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं करनी इस इंडस्ट्री में, क्योंकि ये 2045 में भी यहीं होगी, कहीं ऊपर जाएगी, फिर लोग कहेंगे यार ये इंडस्ट्री बड़ा माल बना रही है, बड़ा माल बना रही है, फिर वहीं आ जाएगी. सो दिस इज, ये सबसे वर्स ग्राफ है फॉर एनी डिसीजन मेकर हु इज मेकिंग एन इन्वेस्टमेंट डिसीजन. ये ग्राफ देख के कोई इन्वेस्ट नहीं करेगा. और मैं आपको एक और बात बता दूं, पाकिस्तान में असेंबलर्स आ रहे हैं, बट पार्ट मेकर्स आर नॉट कमिंग बिकॉज दे लुक एट दिस ट्रेंड. कोई बेवकूफ़ नहीं है वो, उनको पता है, वो देख लेते हैं, वो कहते हैं भाई ये जगह सही नहीं है, यहाँ पे पैसा ज़ाया होगा. देन ऑफ कोर्स एक और मसला है, आ जाओ नेक्स्ट पे आ जाओ. सो एक और मसला है, देखें हम कहते हैं ऑटो इंडस्ट्री ने परफॉर्म नहीं किया, पाकिस्तान ने परफॉर्म किया. ये देखें आप, ये है इंडिया में फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट नेट FDI इन द ईयर 2020, 65 बिलियन. हमारे पास कितनी है? 2 बिलियन. उसके बाद 44 बिलियन इंडिया में आई, हमारे पास 2 बिलियन, और ये देखें बढ़ना शुरू हुआ, ये थाईलैंड 15 पे है, वियतनाम ये बढ़ रहा है, वियतनाम बढ़ना शुरू हुआ 15, यहाँ 15, यहाँ 15, 17, हम कहाँ हैं? देखिए यही हैं, हम यही हैं, ये देखें, ये हम पड़े हुए नीचे ग्रीन, ये लेटे हुए हम। तो हमारे पास कोई इन्वेस्ट भी नहीं कर रहा, लेकिन सुरखाब का पर हमारे पास ही है। अगर हम लोकल नहीं बना सकते हम एक्सपोर्ट कर देंगे, कोई मसला ही नहीं है, हमारे लिए कोई मसला नहीं है। वी आर गुड, वी आर नॉट गुड यार, वी आर नॉट परफॉर्मिंग। अब इसमें ऑटो इंडस्ट्री का तो नहीं है ना रोल, को एफडीआई नहीं आ रही, क्यों नहीं आ रही यार एफडीआई? और हार्डली मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में हार्डली इसका 1/5 भी नहीं आता होगा, ज़्यादातर जाता है ऑयल एंड गैस में, बैंकिंग में, सर्विस सेक्टर में, टेलीकॉम में। अली खजर साहब इसको देखते रहते हैं काफ़ी, उनको बिल्कुल पता है। सो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में क्यों नहीं आ रही है एफडीआई? हमारे पास सुरखाब के पर नहीं है, दुनिया हमें देख रही है, वो समझते हैं कि हम बास्केट केस हैं, सॉरी टू से दैट, बट लेकिन अब हम सही डायरेक्शन में जा रहे हैं इंशाल्लाह। वी आर मूविंग इन द राइट डायरेक्शन, फ्यूचर इज ब्राइट। लेकिन इफ यू वांट टू प्रिडिक्ट द फ्यूचर, प्लीज ट्राई टू मेक द फ्यूचर, एटलीस्ट ट्राई योर बेस्ट। नेक्स्ट, फाइनेंसिंग नहीं है, पूरी दुनिया में गाड़ियां बिकती हैं, ऑटोमोबाइल्स आर सोल्ड ऑन फाइनेंसिंग। वो गाड़ी खरीदता है, जापान में क्या होता है, वो 3 साल पुरानी गाड़ी कौन सी आती है, वो उन्होंने सिस्टम बनाया हुआ है शाकिन का, शाकिन इज अ रजिस्ट्रेशन सिस्टम। 3 साल का शाकिन मिलता है गाड़ी जब वो खरीदता है, 3 साल के बाद शाकिन की वैल्यू 3 गुना हो जाती है। वो कहता है गाड़ी बेच दो, नई गाड़ी खरीद लो, जीरो फाइनेंसिंग पे। हमारे यहाँ पाबंदी लगी हुई है कि 3 मिलियन से ज़्यादा की फाइनेंसिंग नहीं करा सकता कोई गाड़ी की। सो एक्चुअली व्हाट वी आर डूइंग इज, सर देखें, एक तरफ ना ये ऑटो इंडस्ट्री है, एक तरफ से उसको जूता मार रहे हैं, दूसरी तरफ से उसकी ऑक्सीजन खींच रहे हैं। तो ये दोनों तरफ से ना इसको ये कमज़ोर हर थोड़े दिनों में कोई नई चीज़ होती है इसको कमज़ोर करने के लिए। नेक्स्ट, और फिर ये देखें आप सर, ये है, ये पाकिस्तान, यहाँ पे हम हमारा ग्राफ जाता है ऊपर, ये वायलेंट डेथ्स पर मिलियन, ये हमारे दोस्त अली हसनैन है, डॉक्टर अली हसनैन, उनकी रिपोर्ट से उठाया मैंने। तो ये नंबर ऑफ गन्स, ओह ऊपर, टेररिस्ट अटैक्स, वेरी गुड, हाई परफॉर्मिंग। तो भाई हॉटस्पॉट्स में हम हैं भाई, कोई क्यों आएगा हमारे यहाँ? नहीं आते यार। मैं आपको एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ, वी इनवाइटेड अ टीम फ्रॉम चाइना टॉयज मैन्युफैक्चरर्स एसोसिएशन ऑन द 12th of August, दे लैंडेड इन कराची। दे वर 6 people, 4 मर्द थे, 2 खवातीन थी। They wanted to move their factories from China to Pakistan to take advantage of the US tariffs applied on Pakistan, lower tariffs. They want to create Pakistan as a second base, but they have 2 more options. Cambodia, क्योंकि वियतनाम अब महंगा हो रहा है, Cambodia and Laos. When they arrived in Karachi, we got the information from the DIG office. हमने 3 बुलेट प्रूफ गाड़ियाँ अरेंज की हुई थी उनके लिए, 4 पुलिस के एस्कॉर्ट गाड़ियाँ थीं, एंड लाइक फुल पावर्ड डेलीगेशन था उनको रिसीव करने के लिए। तो फिर खबर ये आई कि जी ऑल पुलिस एस्कॉर्ट्स हैव बीन विड्रॉन बिकॉज द DIG ऑफिस अनाउंस्ड दैट देयर इज अ टेरर अलर्ट एंड नो चाइनीज मूवमेंट, नो चाइनीज, यूरोपियन घूम सकता है, यूरोपियन घूम सकता है, नो चाइनीज मूवमेंट इन द सिटी अंटिल द 14th of August और द चेलम। सो वो जो चाइनीज़ थे उनको हमने बताया कि भाई अब क्या करें, उन्होंने तो मुंह उतर गए, उन्होंने कहा इतने दूर से हम आए हैं, तुम्हारे तो मिलियंस खर्च हो गए भाई, हम आए हैं, टाइम लगाया हमने, क्या मतलब, हम आपकी फैक्ट्री जाना चाहते हैं, वी वांट टू सी योर कैपेबिलिटी। वी सेड सॉरी, ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, कोई पुलिस ही नहीं है, और पुलिस के बगैर आप जाएंगे तो जिस पुलिस वाले ने रोका वो आपको कुछ नहीं कहेगा, CEO ऑफ द कंपनी को बंद कर देगा वो। सो मीटिंग कहाँ हुई? PC होटल के बोर्ड रूम में। वो दोबारा नहीं आएंगे, वो नहीं आएंगे, उनके चेहरे पे था वो शायर ने कहा था, जिस तरह आपने बीमार से रुखसत ली है, साफ लगता है जनाजे में नहीं आएंगे। तो ये है हमारी जो रियलिटी है, सुरखाब का पर कहीं नहीं है, हमारे दिमागों में है, हम बहुत नीचे हैं, दुनिया हमें देखती है। जब हमारे यहाँ फॉरेनर काम करने आता है उसके घर वाले उससे कहते हैं मत जाओ भाई। ये देखें आप, बीजिंग कॉल्स पाकिस्तान टू स्टेप अप सिक्योरिटी आफ्टर अटैक्स ऑन चाइनीज वर्कर्स, 2 killed इन लेटेस्ट बॉम्बिंग, हैं जी। वियतनाम आस्क पाकिस्तान टू गारंटी सेफ्टी, अब इनकी भी ये हिम्मत हो गई। पाकिस्तान अटैक टारगेट्स वैन कैरिंग जापानीज ऑटो वर्कर्स। मेरे पास चाइनीज़ काम करते हैं, हम बैठे हुए थे, वी आर सिटिंग विद नगाओ-सान इज जापानीज ऑन आवर बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स एंड वी वर सिटिंग टुगेदर हैविंग लंच एंड द चाइनीज वर लाफिंग एंड दे वर सेइंग दैट एक्चुअली द टेररिस्ट थॉट that there are Chinese inside this, but they were Japanese. There was a chief CEO of YKK who was going in this car. So, but in India, Suzuki Motor president says India to be global production hub for EVs. Oh, log bhejte hain, there are 100, 200 Japanese working in India. Chinese are going, and then these are kind of the kind of news feeds that go out. दुनिया बहुत छोटी जगह हो गई है. चलें जी आगे. So export क्यों नहीं करते? एक तो $200 मिलियन की एक्सपोर्ट हो रही है. सर वी विल ट्राई टू accumulate that number. जो ग्लोबली बाज़ दफ़ा रिपोर्ट नहीं होता, हम आपको डेटा प्रोवाइड करेंगे कि $200 मिलियन कैसे बनते हैं. There is no raw material industry in Pakistan, so this means I have to import steel, plastics, rubber, aluminium तो है खैर, copper. So that adds about 10 to 15% in terms of material cost. Then there is no low domestic volume. देखें, export is always done on marginal costing. I don't depreciate my plant and my fixed investment, and I don't charge it on my export price. Export is always done on marginal costing, and my fixed cost is recovered from my domestic market. So Nabil Hashmi will calculate कि ये मेरी प्लास्टिक बॉटल की कॉस्ट ये है, मैं इस पे 5% 10% मार्जिन रखूंगा, ये प्लांट को एमोर्टाइज नहीं कर सकते, अगर करेंगे तो दूसरे मुल्क इनको फारिग कर देंगे. सो लो डोमेस्टिक वॉल्यूम. फिर अनकम्पेटिटिव यूटिलिटीज़, ये हम सबको ही पता है, बार बार कहने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. एंड देन देर आर एब्सेंस ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट फैसिलिटीज़. देर इज़ नो रिबेट. हमारे जो लोकल टैक्सेस होते हैं, अगर आप कोई लोकल चीज़ परचेज करें तो आपने सेल्स टैक्स पे किया, उसका रिफंड ही नहीं मिलता आपको. जीरो रेटिंग, कोई चीज़ आप खरीदें आपको रिफंड नहीं मिलता. आपकी बिजली है उसके ऊपर आप सेल्स टैक्स देते हैं, गैस पे देते हैं, आपको उसका रिफंड नहीं मिलता. ये सारी चीज़ें कॉस्ट को बम्प अप कर रही होती हैं. देन देर आर नो टेस्टिंग एंड सर्टिफिकेशन फैसिलिटीज़. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने WP29 बड़े फ़ख्र से अप्लाई किया है. KB साहब अगर यहाँ बैठे हैं, आसम ऐसा बैठे हैं, सो इन्होंने अप्लाई किया है. इसका नतीजा बता देता हूँ आपको मैं. इन्होंने कोई पहले राउंड में कितने किए थे आपने? 17. इन्होंने 17 आइटम्स डाले कि जी इनका UN रेगुलेशन WP29 होगा. पाकिस्तान में कोई टेस्टिंग लैब नहीं है. अच्छा, ये जितने पार्ट हम बना रहे हैं ये ऑलरेडी JI जैपनीज़ प्रोडक्शन इंस्पेक्शन स्टैंडर्ड्स पे क्वालिफाई करते हैं. जापान टेस्ट करता है. इन्होंने एडिशनल रिक्वायरमेंट डाल दी. नाउ आई एम प्रोड्यूसिंग विंडशील्ड्स. आई हैव टू सेंड एवरी सैम्पल ऑफ माई न्यू मॉडल to Czech Republic, TUV laboratory in the Czech Republic. Every testing costs me around $20,000. I have about 20 models, so you multiply that, we have wasted that much money giving it to the testing laboratory in Czech Republic. I also make safety seat belts. We have to send every model to Korea, to the VCA laboratories. They charge us $40,000 for testing because they do a crash test. 40,000 or 60,000. So, वी आर वेस्टिंग मनी क्योंकि हमने टेस्टिंग लैब नहीं लगाया. अब मैं लगाऊंगा टेस्टिंग लैब पे, कोई इंडस्ट्री तो नहीं लगाएगी. ये तो गवर्नमेंट का काम है ना सर. इंडिया में गवर्नमेंट लगाती है, पूरी दुनिया में गवर्नमेंट लगाती है, चाहे वो प्राइवेट पब्लिक पार्टनरशिप में करे. बट ये चीज़ें जो हैं ये बड़ी ज़रूरी हैं. आप बातें कर रहे हैं कि हमें वर्ल्ड क्लास बनना है, मगर वर्ल्ड क्लास बनने की टेस्टिंग फैसिलिटीज़ हमारे पास मौजूद नहीं है. सो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हम बनाएंगे नहीं. अगर रोड नहीं बनाएंगे तो गाड़ी भगाएंगे कैसे? नेक्स्ट, चलो जी आगे. ऑलराइट, चलें. There is a Pakistan cost. Oh yes, there is a Pakistan cost. जी डिस्काउंट चाहिए तो वो क्यों खरीदे आपसे? कोई पर नहीं है सुरखाब. सो खैर मैं इस पर बात नहीं करना चाहता, ये आप रिपोर्ट में पढ़ लीजिएगा, बिकॉज दिस इज अबाउट IMF. वन थिंग आई कांट अंडरस्टैंड अबाउट द IMF May 2025 report, which is on their website, is that they've talked about the MEFP 26 to 28, and under those MEFP they have mentioned that Pakistan is excessively protected and it needs to liberalize, and the tariff policy needs to come which needs to reduce the protection, and therefore the peak tariffs need to go down, which ultimately went down to 15%. पीछे करो, रोक लो. But I want to just point out one thing. What I became curious was what is the MEFP 26 to 28. So I dug it up and I found it in the 2021 IMF report. The MEFP 27 says three things. It says three things. It says Pakistan should have a tariff structure which encourages local production made in Pakistan for import substitution. So MEFP 27 originally was for make in Pakistan for import substitution, and suddenly 4 years later it has completely referred to the same MEFP, but completely different connotation. So I think we need to study this deeply, and chalo aage, let's go. Chale. All right. So I think we are almost done. Chale aage, next. Okay, so final questions to the forum. First of all, in case the industry shuts down, because we have no idea what will happen, nobody is willing to put their neck on the line कि यार 5 साल बाद ये होगा, नहीं हुआ तो मेरी गर्दन काट देना. कोई ये नहीं कह रहा, उम्मीद है, उम्मीद तो कायम है. So I want to ask, is there any alternate plan for 1.83 million jobs and 878 billion loss of annual income for the Pakistanis and 302 billion taxes which the industry pays? Second question is, can Pakistan absorb a more than 1 billion import shock without derailing the IMF targets? And how will we meet the 2030 EV and NDC goals while allowing high emission used cars, जिनकी कोई age limit भी नहीं होगी? And how will we reach the $100 billion exports without the auto parts sector, which has a potential of more than 6.5 billion of exports? And why focus on premium cars when 40% are middle class needing affordable mobility? So dismantling the auto parts industry will trigger an irreversible jobs, imports, climate, fiscal, and competitiveness shock that no fragile economy can absorb, with no credible alternative plan in place. That's all I want to say. My job is to try and shake up what we are generally thinking. We need to be in our conscious mind, predict the future based on experiences of the past. That's all from my side. Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge our two parliamentarians, sir. Sayyid Raza Ali Gilani Saab, member of Committee on the Industry. Thank you very much for coming, sir. And Barrister Umair Khan. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us. We are looking towards our parliamentarians to protect the jobs that we are trying to create in Pakistan. Thank you, sir.